want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Oh, you can handle it, folks. Out of the bunker, 0 dark 30. I'm busting loose, folks. Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. I think we're going to call the Friday episode the early morning out of the bunker busted. Let's call it the Friday bunker buster. And this preliminary first one, it's going to be powerful, folks. Get ready for this. I woke up 0 dark 30 early. Oh, this is appropriate. Bathed in red light. We'll get back to that in a few minutes here. Bathed in red light. Well, these are tail lights, and I'm not flanked with the members of military, and I'm not screaming and yelling like the Führer. I'm not accusing my fellow countrymen who truly are patriots of being anti-patriots. Oh man, I couldn't believe it. I thought, it's going to be Friday. It's the end of the week. We've had one hell of an SHTF week, and here we are. No, it got worse. It just got far worse, folks. There's two ways to look at what's going on. One way is it's all political propaganda, hot air, and bullshit. And the other way to look at it is they just stepped up the SHTF attack. Expect it to get far, far worse. Now, while I hope that what was being said is just some silly political rhetoric, that it plays well with Democrat socialist voters, but I don't think so, folks. I think we've entered a very, very dangerous era in American history. Let me just get it on the board, and then we can discuss it with some historical context, maybe some constitutional context. We're going to put some context behind this, folks. El Presidente, leader of the Biden regime, decided he was going to give a speech last night, right? Stood up in front of America and the world, and not in front of the presidential podium, patriotically standing in front of American flags with white light, the normal look, showering the president, trying to look presidential. Instead, America, its people, and even the world witnessed an outrageous spectacle. That outrageous spectacle was President Biden standing at a podium with members of the military behind him, Marines, in dress blues, right? Looking very military, because that's part of that uniform. It just inspires that feel, except they were being used as props. And I wonder how they felt. I wonder if these were old school, America-loving, patriotic Marines, or if these were some of the new, converts that have come out of college, come out of high schools, that love the idea of communism and hate America, though they wear an American military uniform. Rather than giving a patriotic look, this had the feel of Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler, folks, was stage managed his speeches. Adolf Hitler used props. He had his minister of propaganda. That's literally what he was called, the minister of propaganda, Joseph Goebbels. Joseph Goebbels, folks, made everything into a sales piece, an entertainment masterpiece that was supposed to inspire the German people to follow the Führer, the leader, their dictator. It was designed to emotionally rile them up. He was the only speaker that would raise his fist and yell and scream his political thoughts. There's a reason behind doing that, the yelling and the screaming. Because if you're listening to it and agreeing with it, you, as the listener, the unwilling participant and dupe to lies, you begin to believe them. And then you also become angry, because anger is much like fear, folks, much like fear. It promotes and inspires a reaction. The German people got mad. They were happy to be mad, and they became violently inspired. I'm not talking about 100% of the German people. I'm talking about the Germans that followed Hitler, right? A lot of them did. Enough that Hitler had full power, full control of the German government, military, and civilian infrastructure. He was the Führer. He was the boss. He was the dictator. Well, Biden in his speech, folks, has been yelling and becoming angry in his speeches. And he is pointing to a specific people: Patriots, Trump supporters, make America great, America first Americans. I'll go over more of the details in the Friday free-for-all, but this is the Friday bunker buster, and I am hitting you with a big one. Joe Biden has essentially become a Hitler-esque speaker, claiming that you and I, patriots who love the Constitution, who obey the law, he has essentially made us the enemy. I mean, I can't see it any other way rather than a cool, calm, relaxed, composed, intelligent, at least intelligent and peering leader. He appeared, folks, in red light. Red light, symbolic of blood. That's exactly what that is, symbolic of blood. Meaning at war, at conflict. Right? He called us threats. He made us the enemy with his speech. How do you feel about that? What do you think of that? When I saw that, it made me very angry. I was also incredibly upset. It's not as if the president needed to do this to convince Americans to fight for Zelensky over in Ukraine against Putin, right? Inspiring us to support a political cause that makes no sense. It wasn't if he appeared this way to declare an outside force had invaded the United States, as if, for example, the Russians have invaded Alaska. That is American soil, and we must stand and fight the enemy who is so bad and so wrong and so awful that we should all be angry and give up our lives in order to defend our country. No, this wasn't that kind of speech. This part of the speech, folks, with military flanking him, right? Usually the Marines don't stand around behind and beside and in camera view of the president, right? The military does that when they're discussing military things. This was Joe Biden using images of militarism, colors of conflict. Red is conflict, red is war, red is death. He used these images combined with his speech to direct anger, animosity, and hatred at American people, his own people. I want to remind you all that Hitler screamed and yelled and looked angry in his speeches, something that is timeless and horrifying to Americans. Hitler did that. The whole world is horrified by Hitler's, historic speeches that we can view. This is what Joe Biden is doing now, folks. Hitler, let me remind you, spoke of the enemies of the state, Germany. And he also spoke of people that he felt needed to go. Yeah, that's right, folks. He murdered his own people. Millions of his own people were killed by Hitler. Right? The Holocaust people say over 5 million Jews alone were killed. How many others were killed, folks? How many other Germans? Not just the Romani or the Gypsies. He didn't just kill the derelicts, the non-productive, the worthless. He did go after and kill German people who opposed his political ideology, who opposed the way Germany was going. He took their freedom of speech, their freedom of thought, their freedom of political expression. He took those people and killed them. He could kill them either by execution in the street, or Hitler killed them, folks, by sending them to work camps. But Hitler killed them. Joe Biden is proclaiming you and me and other Americans as enemies of the state, enemies of his political belief system. And to oppose him, to say anything against him, right, is going to be considered, right, if not an act of war, an act of insubordination, right, an act of subversion. It could be considered, right, a crime. We have already seen the politicization of the IRS under the Obama regime. You know, the real president, as Biden keeps saying. These are scary times, folks. These are scary times. Now we're seeing the FBI being used to arrest American protesters. We're seeing the FBI used to arrest attorneys and to assault the rights, the inalienable rights of President Trump. A president having his property raided for political purposes, a political stunt. This is Joe Biden's America now, folks. They've more than just stolen it. What comes next? What comes next? That is what I really am concerned about. Think about it. The man proclaiming, "Make America Great" supporters, Trump supporters, are enemies of the state, right? They claim that we're trying to take their rights, that we're violent, that we're the bad ones. It is unbelievable how they have come to that conclusion. And people that you know on the street, folks, believe that. People that you see in the grocery store believe Biden's fairy tales. People at the gas station, as they fill up their cars and pay way too much money because of Biden's policies, believe that that's a good thing. We're going to talk about this a lot more. I hope you are prepared. And by golly, you better have a means of self-defense, because there is going to be lawlessness if this continues. True lawlessness. Folks, chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours. God protect us. Semper Fi.